My daughter took my credit card and emptied my savings. When I confronted her, she smashed my phone and sneered, "You don't deserve anything." I looked her in the eye. "I will take back every penny you stole." As she woke up to the freezing house, she had no idea what I raised Melanie alone since she was 3 years old. Her father left one night and never looked back. No calls, no cards, not even a child support check. Just vanished. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I was sitting on the floor folding her tiny socks when I found the note in the kitchen. It said he couldn't do this anymore. That was it. No goodbye to her, no apology to me. From then on, it was just the two of us. I worked myself into the ground to keep us afloat. I cleaned houses during the day, and when Melanie went to bed, I'd change clothes and go waitress the night shift at a bar off Coliseum Boulevard. Some nights I'd get home at 2 a.m. and then be back up at 6 to pack her lunch and walk her to the bus stop. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in Fort Wayne. The carpet was worn, the windows leaked in winter, and our neighbors were loud, but it was home. I never took vacations. I never dated. I poured every cent and every minute into raising that girl. I gave her everything I could. Dance classes, science camp, a new winter coat every year. I skipped meals so she wouldn't have to. And I believed that one day, all the sacrifices would mean something. That she'd grow up and be someone kind. Someone who saw what I gave her and felt proud to make something of herself. But around 17, Melanie changed. She started coming home late. Stopped talking to me unless she needed something. I'd ask how her day was, and she'd roll her eyes. One time, she called me a loser because I still drove a 2003 Corolla. That hurt more than I admitted. I told myself it was just a phase. Teenagers can be cruel without knowing it. Then she started hanging out with Chase. He was 23 and had this smug look like he knew everything. Drove some beat-up Mustang that rattled every time he pulled into the lot. I tried to be civil, invited him in once for dinner. He refused, told Melanie to hurry up, then muttered something about how I reeked of bleach and desperation. I should have kicked him out right then. I begged her to stop seeing him. She told me I was jealous. She graduated high school by the skin of her teeth and didn't apply to a single college. I tried not to push. I thought maybe she just needed time to figure things out. So I gave her that time. I gave her space. I even added her to one of my credit cards just in case of emergencies. In August, I went online to pay my rent and saw the decline message. I didn't panic at first. I thought maybe the card had expired. Then I logged into my bank account. Gone. Everything was gone. My savings account. Emptied. My checking. Overdrawn. My retirement fund. Drained and closed. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. A hack. I called the bank, barely able to speak. The woman on the other end walked me through the activity. She was quiet for a long time. "Ma'am, I see a series of large withdrawals and purchases, starting back in May." She read the list out to me. Uber rides, hotel stays, a $900 sneaker order, a $4,300 wire transfer to someone named Chasey Davis. It felt like I was drowning while standing still. I hung up and sat in the dark for hours. I went through her room, found empty boxes from high-end clothes and electronics. She'd even thrown a party at a hotel while I was working a double shift. When she came home that night, I asked her flat out, "Did you use my accounts?" She didn't deny it. She laughed, smiled, even. "So what? You were just sitting on that money." I told her I was calling the police. She walked over, took my phone from the table, and smashed it against the floor. "You don't deserve anything," she said, low and slow, looking right into my eyes like she meant every word. She went to her room and slammed the door. I stared at the broken phone like it was a dead bird. That was the moment something shifted in me. I wasn't sad. I wasn't scared. I was done. I spent the next 2 weeks rebuilding. Quietly, carefully. I opened new accounts. I locked my credit. I reported the fraud. I started documenting every transaction, every charge, every date. I made copies and backups. I spoke to a detective. He told me most parents don't press charges. I said, "I'm not most parents." I waited for her to leave one day and had the locks changed. I called the electric company and cut off everything in her name. I made sure the lease only had my name on it. Then I waited. That morning, I turned off the breakers. I unplugged the Wi-Fi. I shut every vent to her room and took the space heater. She came storming out of her room wrapped in a blanket, teeth chattering. What the hell is wrong with the heat? I stood in the hallway and stared at her. "You have 5 minutes to leave." She blinked. Thought I was joking. "Get out, Melanie." "You're insane," she hissed, laughing. Then she saw the cop car pull into the lot. "You called the cops? Are you serious?" "Dead serious." The officer walked up the stairs. She screamed. Called me a monster. Said I was ruining her life. I didn't say a word. She didn't know that this was only the beginning. The police didn't arrest her that day, but they filed the report. The detective I'd spoken with earlier came by later to take a formal statement. I handed him the folder I'd put together, printed bank statements, screenshots of transfers, even photos of her and Chase flashing cash on social media. "She's your daughter," he said carefully. "You sure you want to go through with this?" I nodded. She made her choice. Now I'm making mine. He told me the DA might not press charges right away, especially if it looked like a family dispute. So I made sure it wouldn't look like one. I opened a civil case, too. I wanted a paper trail a mile long. Melanie couch-hopped for a week or so. I know because her friends' moms called me. They wanted to know what happened. Why their daughters were suddenly being asked to house her, why Melanie was saying I kicked her out for no reason. I didn't explain. I just said, "You'll find out soon enough." And they did. Turns out, Melanie hadn't just stolen from me. She used some of her friends' debit cards too. Took their IDs to get into clubs. One mom told me her daughter caught Melanie trying to copy her bank login off her phone screen. It spiraled fast. By the end of that second week, Chase was gone. Disappeared. Probably once the money dried up. Melanie called me one night from a blocked number, sobbing. "Mom, please. I have nowhere to go." I hung up. The next day, I started getting strange calls. A job I'd applied to years ago left a voicemail saying I was under review for a fraud investigation. Then a collection agency sent a letter about a $12,000 debt on a store card I never owned. I went to the bank. They confirmed someone had used my social security number to open 4 new lines of credit. It wasn't just the money anymore. It was identity theft. That's when I realized Melanie wasn't done. She was angry. She thought she could scare me into backing off. She thought if she ruined my credit, I'd drop the charges. She was wrong. I contacted a lawyer, filed identity theft reports with the FTC, the police, and every creditor. I showed them everything, proof of fraud, her history, even her texts bragging to friends about screwing over her dumbass mom. A week later, I was in small claims court. Melanie didn't show. She didn't even send a lawyer. The judge ruled in my favor. That meant I could now garnish her wages if she ever worked. I could put a lien on any property she ever bought. I could attach that judgment to her credit until the day she paid me back. I also found out she had a warrant pending, unrelated to my case. A DUI with Chase, caught on camera a month before I discovered the missing funds. She had lied to the cops about her name. That charge was now active. She went from couch surfing to living in her car. I heard about it from one of her old classmates who saw her parked behind a gym using their free Wi-Fi. And still, she kept lashing out. She posted online that I was abusive, that I stole her money, that I was a psychopath who ruined her life because I couldn't handle her independence. She wanted sympathy. She wanted a rescue, but all she got was silence. Because I wasn't done either. And she had no idea what else I had planned. 3 weeks later, I got a knock on my door. I thought it might be more paperwork from the bank or a neighbor with a question. But it was Melanie's old high school guidance counselor, Mrs. Green. She looked uncomfortable. "Can I come in for a second?" She sat on the couch, clutching a small envelope. Said Melanie had come to her office 2 days earlier. Said she was a mess. Dirty clothes, sunken eyes, smelled like she hadn't showered in days. She begged for help, told me she had nowhere left to turn. I said nothing. I didn't know her tears anymore. Mrs. Green handed me the envelope. She asked me to give this to you. Inside was a short note scribbled on notebook paper. It said, "You win. I hope it was worth losing your daughter over money."
No e paledi. No e accountability.
Just another shot to make me feel guilty. Mrs. Green was watching me like she expected me to break down. I didn't. I folded the paper and slid it into a drawer. "I appreciate you coming by," I said. She nodded, stood, and left. 2 days later, a detective called me back. "You're not gonna like this," he said. "There's been movement on the identity theft case." I braced myself. "Your name was used to rent a storage unit on the west side of town. Surveillance shows Melanie accessing it." I drove there immediately with a copy of the police report. The manager unlocked it for me. Inside were boxes mine. Photos.
Documents.
Even the old laptop I thought I'd lost years ago. She had taken them. Sometime in the last year, she'd quietly moved things out of my room and into that unit. And on the back wall, taped up in a sloppy grid, were copies of credit card numbers, blank checks, even one of my W-2s. It wasn't just petty theft. She'd been planning this. This had been going on longer than I ever imagined. I had thought it was impulsive, selfish behavior, a grab at fast money. But no, it was methodical. She'd been building a shadow version of me, piece by piece. The detective called it long-con identity fraud. He said it wasn't just a family matter anymore. It was felony level. That night, I sat at my kitchen table in silence. I looked around the apartment. Every crack in the walls, every stain on the carpet, I had earned all of it. And she had tried to erase it, pretend she could be me, just to destroy me. And then another twist. I got a text from Chase. It was a photo of Melanie. She was sitting on a motel bed, face in her hands. And underneath he wrote, "She's not my problem anymore. You win." I hadn't spoken to him. Didn't even have his number saved. He must have gotten a new phone. Or Melanie gave it to him in some twisted attempt to guilt me again. But it told me something important. They weren't partners anymore. She was alone. And now that she had no one left to leech off, she was going to make one last move. I just didn't know what it was yet. But I was watching. I was ready. A week passed with no word. Then, just when I thought it was over, I got a call from the IRS. A woman named Mrs. Hines said there was a flag on my 2023 tax return. Someone had filed a second return using my social security number, with a fake address and claiming a refund of $9,800. She told me I needed to come in for a formal review. I went the next day, sat in a gray office under flickering lights, and showed them the police reports, the fraud claims, everything. She leaned back in her chair, lips tight. "This isn't amateur stuff," she said. "This is organized identity theft." And then she dropped the bomb. They traced the fake returns bank deposit to an online account. One that was opened using my name, but with an IP address linked to a specific location. It was the same motel where Chase had taken that photo. This wasn't just my daughter making mistakes anymore. This was criminal. Serious time. Federal time. They needed one final piece to close the case. Confirmation from the bank that Melanie accessed the account. I went quiet for a few seconds. Then I said, "I can get you that." Because I had a plan. That night, I sent Melanie a message through the only channel she had left, her old Facebook account. I knew she still checked it, even though she never posted. I wrote, "If you want the rest of the money, meet me at the Denny's on Lima Road. Tomorrow, noon." She replied 2 hours later, "Bring cash." I didn't. I brought the police. She showed up wearing sunglasses and a hoodie, looking thinner than I'd ever seen her. She slid into the booth like nothing had ever happened, looked me straight in the eye. "You finally came to your senses?" I smiled.
"No, Melanie.
I came to give you what you earned." 2 officers walked in. They didn't yell. They didn't cuff her in front of everyone. They just walked her out quietly. She was too shocked to fight. I followed them outside, stood by my car, and watched her get in the cruiser. She looked at me through the window.
Pure atred.
But she knew it was over. In the weeks that followed, everything fell into place. The IRS filed charges. The state picked up the fraud case. The local DA finally moved on the identity theft. And Melanie, my daughter, was sentenced to 6 years in prison, with eligibility for parole after 4. Her lawyer begged me to speak for her at sentencing. Asked if I could say she deserved leniency, that she was just troubled. I declined. I never celebrated. I never told my friends. I just went home and cleaned out her room, gave away what little was left. I didn't get all my money back. Most of it was gone, spent on trash and vanity. But I did get something else. Something I never thought I'd have again: peace. Sometimes revenge doesn't look like fire and rage. Sometimes it looks like silence, like locking your door and sleeping through the night, like rebuilding your credit one payment at a time, like walking into your own kitchen, pouring coffee, and knowing no one is lying to you, using you, or stealing from you anymore. She said I didn't deserve anything. She was wrong. I deserved everything I kept. And she got exactly what she earned.